walk into a classroom, people look at me, they say, oh my goodness, what's an old guy like you going to tell us about social media? And so I'm always looking to try to make myself look younger, but I think you deserve to understand where I've come from, and maybe you'll better appreciate why we're going to be spending a little bit of time together this afternoon. So I studied at Toronto Metropolitan University in Toronto. I studied chemical engineering technology at the time, a long, long time ago. And from there, I went to work for this company, Spirax Sarco, in Canada. And it was kind of like a startup because they had just started operations in Canada, although they were everywhere else in the world. So it was the best type of startup to be involved with. Lots of money, and I still got to experience the growing pains of going through an organization from startup to maturity. Spent 15 years with them. I started on the customer service desk, and then in 10 years, I was president and general manager of the Canadian company. Did that for about 5 years, and then I got bored, and I left. And I went to work with this company, and this was a true startup company. EARTH stood for Environmental Applied Research Technology House, and we were developing a technology that would separate and recover oil from water. Really exciting at the time. I was kind of a big environmentalist at that time. That's from 2000 to 2008. We became wildly successful, $0 sales to 30 million US. When it started, like it took us 4 years to get the ball rolling. But once we did, in 18 months, we had gone from 0 to 30 million US. We became so successful that they moved operations to Houston, Texas. And I didn't want to move my family there. So I ended up leaving and starting my own company, my own boutique agency. So I started my online marketing company at that time. Today, I have my company. I do my online. I have several clients that I work with, but I also teach social media and search engine optimization at Concordia. And I have taught online marketing at York University in Toronto. So this old guy spends all his time trying to keep up with all the changes and crazy stuff going on with social media in the world. So that's what I spend my time doing. Okay, enough about me. Now let's talk about you. What are we going to cover today? And what I thought, for a lot of startups and young companies, whatever, I thought maybe it'd be good to share some of these ideas, all right? Understanding your audience, because for social media, that is so important. And then we're going to look at choosing the right social media platforms to be on in the first place. And we'll also talk about how to create engaging content, and then how to build your following on social media platforms. All right, so I'm excited. I hope you are, and let's dive in right now. Understanding your audience. This is one of the big challenges that every company has. And this is, I got this form courtesy of HubSpot.com. HubSpot.com has a great blog, a lot of great articles. I suggest go visit there and you'll learn an awful lot, especially with a lot of the updates happening in online marketing. But this is, for anybody who is in marketing, you've seen this before. It's basically developing a persona or avatar. What does your ideal customer look like? All right, so you're going to deal with the background and the demographics and where they live and how old they are, how young they are, and what do they do, how much money they make, all that good stuff. But when you develop your persona, the two key things that we must really put a lot of attention on with our persona is, what are their goals? What are their dreams? What's their passion? Where do they want to be in 6 months, a year, 5 years from now? And what are the challenges that they're experiencing right now that's a roadblock for them to get from here to where they want to be? So this area here, you've got to put in a lot of sweat equity to understand this. Now, I have to tell you a story. As a boutique online marketer, when I go and get a client and I walk into their office, one of the first questions I ask them, I said, do you have any personas developed about your ideal customer or customers? And a lot of them will go, yeah, we went through that exercise. I said, okay, where's the documents? Where are the files? It's somewhere in the marketing file on our hard drive. I said, okay, do you know exactly where it is? Well, it's been about 4 or 5 years since we've looked at it. And here's something that I really want to drive home. It is absolutely necessary that you create a persona, or maybe 2 or maybe 3 personas of your ideal customer, but it's a living document. So every time you learn something new, that should be put into this document. If you learn something about the issues that they're having, or you get to better understand what they're going through, you need to describe that in this document here and keep a record of it, because it's going to evolve. If you just tuck it away, here's the challenge, is that various people in your organization may find out little snippets about your persona or your avatar, but it's not being recorded. It's not being shared. So this document is a living document, and you need to visit it on a regular basis, and especially when you learn something new about your customers. I got a story to tell you, all right? So I'm going to stop sharing here so you can look at me. When I worked for EARTH, the Environmental Applied Research Technology House, we were developing this technology that would separate and recover oil out of water. And the technology was absolutely astounding. I got a bottle of oily water right here. So we would take this and run it through our machine, and the water would come out this clear. It was almost drinkable. And we would recover the oil so that it could be reused again. Now, this was in 2000 when I joined the company, and that was only 11 years after the Exxon Valdez oil spill in 1989. For those of you that may not be aware of it, it was the worst oil spill disaster in US history. It was off the coast of Prince William Sound near Alaska, and the spill was over 11 million gallons of oil. It was a terrible mess. So when we're developing this technology to take this and change it into this, everybody, our investors, our stakeholders said, oh, oil spills. This would be great technology for oil spills. So I spent the first year and a half concentrating on that market sector. We got a chance to go and participate in a conference and a trade show, and it was the Emergency Response trade show in Tampa Bay. So we went down, we rented a booth outside the conference center, right by the harbor. It was beautiful, sun shining, it was great. And we were running oily water through our machine like this, and on the other end of it was coming out nice clean water. And we had some avatars developed, people that worked for the oil companies, the big executives, insurance companies, and also contractors that actually did the cleanup. So I got a chance to meet an executive VP from one of the biggest oil companies in the world. And it was an interesting conversation. I showed him what we were doing, and I said, what do you think? I said, for oil spill recovery. And he said, we really don't care. And I said, pardon me? He says, since Exxon Valdez, we have been putting money away into an account. He says, we have almost $1 billion in that account waiting for the next disaster, if it happens. If it does happen, we have all the money to clean it up and move forward. So we really don't care. I said, all right. So I said, who should we talk to? He says, maybe talk to the insurance companies. So I talked and found a guy who's in an insurance company that basically did policies for this type of issue, disaster relief for oil spills. And I spoke with him, and he said, nah, not really that interested, because we're just going to charge the oil companies the money back. We'll recoup everything that, we may have to pay out. So it's all there. And I said, okay, who else should I speak to? They said, speak to the contractors that actually do the cleanup. Finally, great, a contractor comes, an emergency response contractor, and I'm showing him what our stuff can do. And he had some interest in it. And I made the mistake of saying, you can clean up an oil spill, probably increase, 90% faster than how you can do it now. And he looked at me and he said, I'm not interested. And I said, why? He said, we get paid at cost plus 10%. If it costs me $100, I make 10% of that. So that's $10. If it only costs me $1, I only make 10 cents. I'd rather make $10. So that whole exercise of participating in that conference, that trade show, I go back to my office and I go to the executive there. I said, listen, guys, we're in the wrong market sector. So this is why it is so important to make sure you understand your customers. So many times I've seen people come up with brilliant ideas, but there's no customer for them. So this is some of the things that you really need to look at, and developing your persona and going through that very difficult process of there we go. Identifying the goals and the challenges, that's sweat equity. That will make sure that you are on the right track. Okay, here we go. Let's move forward. So how do you find out about the challenges and their goals and their dreams, whatever? Social media will allow you to do a lot of this virtually, online. How do you do that? You can join groups on all the social media platforms. You can actually get involved with discussion forums, regardless of what industry you're in, whether it's software, hardware, whatever you are making, whatever product or service, there will be discussion forums and groups about where your potential clients are hanging out. And you want to go and participate and listen to them. You know, what is keeping them up at night? You can go and look at your competitors and what are they writing about, blogging about? Because they'll probably be blogging about the trends. What is keeping, you know, what are the concerns of the industry, of that specific market sector? So you can get a lot of great clues from looking at competitors' information that they have online. Associations is another great place, okay, because there's articles and there's blogs. They're writing about what their members are concerned about. These are all topics that are a major concern with the members of these associations. So you can go there and get some clues as well. But don't ever give up the opportunity to go and network in person, go attend trade shows, attend conferences, and start speaking to people one-on-one. Because when I went to Tampa, and I found out that we were in the wrong industry, when I came back, we were small enough that we could pivot and go and look at other market sectors and spend and concentrate our time on that. Okay. So you've developed your avatar, or you may have 2 or maybe 3. And you've identified what you think are a lot of the problems they're experiencing and their goals and their objectives and where they want to be and their dreams and desires. Now we got to choose what is the best social media platform that they're on. And we have lots of choice. But my question is basically this: why use social media at all? What's the big advantage of using social media and trying to get your message out there? I think we all know this, but I'm going to cover this anyway. First reason is reach. The internet and social media now has allowed us to reach way beyond our borders, way beyond our local areas. We can go globally with our message very, very quickly, very easily. And we have choice. We have so many social media platforms. And the choice is a double-edged sword because our audience also has the same choice of what platforms they want to participate on. So chances are not one social media platform is going to be the answer, and you're going to have all of your potential audience on there. You may have to look at 2 or 3 different ones. But reach, choice, frequency. We can create our message and pump it out a lot more frequently because the cost is relatively small. It's just the investment of our time to create our message, create our content, and put it out there. Here's the big thing, though, with regards to using social media. Once you start creating a following, you now can develop a two-way conversation. And trust me, if you do something that your following don't agree with, they're going to let you know right away. So You can use your following and develop a relationship online with them and get a lot of feedback. That two-way conversation before the internet existed was a horrendous cost. Companies would sit there and invest tons of money in focus groups and bring people in and try to get them to give us some feedback, because the marketing message before the internet was all one way. There was no opportunity for, or very little opportunity to get a response back. Now it's quite easy. So this is why social media is so important. Okay. Once we go back to the avatar, we can sort of make assumptions about what social media properties may be good. Here we look at the identifiers. On your ideal customer, how do they like to be communicate? Is it by email? Is it by text? You know, what social media platforms are they on? Are there several platforms that they may be on? Association websites, what's going on? And this way you got to do a little bit of brainstorming and testing out to see what is going to be the best platform to go on. I'm going to show you a slide here next that will give you a little bit of a hint and guide you along. This information is courtesy of a site called socialmediaexaminer.com. And they come out with a report, a marketing report every May. And this is from May 2022. May 2023 should come out in probably about 2-3 weeks from now. But if you are a business creating a service or a product selling to another business, here are the platforms that marketers are creating and putting content on. LinkedIn being number 1, Facebook being a close number 2. Then you have Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and there's TikTok. Now, if you are a business and you're creating a software, an app, or a product or a service for consumers, for everyday ordinary people, Facebook is the platform that you should really seriously consider being on. And then it's Instagram, then LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. So you can see how the choices kind of differ. You still have to test out. Depending on your industry, depending on your avatar, your persona, they may be in different places, and they may be in a couple of these places. So you want to be able to reach them. You don't know where they frequent more often. You know, some may be very active on LinkedIn, but others may be more active on Facebook or Instagram. So you got to play the field and see where you get your response. So that gives you an idea of the possibilities, and you start creating your platforms. You create your Facebook page, you create your LinkedIn page, you create your Instagram account. And all I can advise you is that when you create those accounts, those pages, make sure you complete all the information as best as you possibly can, because that's important. People will do searches on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and you want your content on that platform to show up within LinkedIn search engine or Facebook search engine. Make sense? Okay. All right. Let's talk about creating engaging content, because now we've figured out, okay, we've got a couple of social media platforms. We created our profiles, our pages. Now comes the challenge of creating engaging content. How many people actually put a 1 in the chat if you've read this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? I'm just curious to see if is the chat active? Okay, looks like no one has read it. Okay, this book came out in 1989. Very popular book. Bestseller, lots of copies sold, and they had a number of republishing done. So the new cover that you get the book, this is the original look of the book. There's 7 habits of highly effective people. And when I read this book, when I bought it in 1989, the one habit that I remembered was habit number 5, which is seek first to understand and then to be understood. It is such valuable insights if you are negotiating with anybody, if you are having a discussion with anybody, if you are having a spirited discussion or possibly an argument, seek to understand the other party first. And when they feel that you fully understand them, then and only then will they sit back and be willing to understand you. What often happens is, and especially in marketing, especially with online marketing, is that everybody is yakking away, making noise, talking about themselves. It's not about you. It's about your avatar, your persona, your customer, their problems, their desires, where they want to be. So I'm going to give you a couple of secrets on writing great content. Here's the first secret. Great content, and because I'm an engineer, I've got an engineering background, I like formulas. So I made this formula. This is mine. Great content equals E to the power of 4. And so you're going to say, MJ, what the heck does that mean? And here it is. All right. When you create content with the goal to educate, entertain, enlighten, and engage. Now, you can put any combination or all 4 if you possibly can. But if you create content to help educate your audience, they're going to be appreciative of that. If you can entertain them and make them laugh when they're, because we all need a good laugh every now and then. Great, wonderful. If you can enlighten them and make them understand certain things that they maybe didn't know before, they appreciate that as well. And whatever content that you do create, make sure you engage them. Tell them what you want them to do next. We call it a call to action. Do you want them to visit your website, or do you want them to read more of the article, or do you want them to watch the whole video because there's some really good pieces of information at the end of the video? Tell people what you want them to do. I've been married for 27 years. My lovely wife, she always tells me what to do, right? It's typical. If she didn't tell me what to do, I'd be living my life on the couch watching sports. But she comes in and she says, honey, this is what you're going to do. So I get a call to action at least several times a day, and that keeps me moving and keeps me going forward. So, but the 4 E's, remember that. Now, I've got another secret for you on writing content. This is secret number 2. And this works extremely well. And actually, this has worked for thousands and thousands of years. Tell stories. Learn to tell stories. As a human species, this is how we survived. This is how we communicated before there was any technology, before we even knew how to write or carve drawings on cave walls. We told stories. Now, what's the secret to telling great stories? And here's this, because this is really important. People will listen to a story, even if it's a bad story. People will listen to it because that's our human nature. That's in our genetics. We listen to stories. However, if you can make the main character of your story your persona, your audience, you've got them. And you've got them for as long as you want them. Okay, because we love to hear stories that we can identify with. So if you create a story talking about the challenges and the dreams of a certain person in a certain position in a certain market sector, they're going to sit there and watch it and go, hey, that's me. They know what I'm going through. Yeah, they understand my frustrations. Wow. And they'll watch it right to the very end. So this is one of the things that you really need to learn how to craft. Craft your story, make the main character of your story your persona. And if you do that, there's people out there that say that we have the attention span of a goldfish, about 8 seconds. Well, I tend to disagree, because if the content is interesting, if it's a story and it's about your audience, you've got them for as long as you want. Now, here's something. When we've developed our persona or our avatar, we have to think about the life cycle of the sales process of our product. So here's the thing. Your avatar, your ideal customer, will have what we call an awareness stage. There's 3 main stages. The awareness, where they've realized and expressed symptoms of a potential problem or opportunity. And then there's the considerations phase where they have clearly defined and given a name to their problem or opportunity. And now they're starting to seek a possible solution. And then finally is the decision-making process where they've defined their solution strategy, method, and approach, and now they're looking to buy, basically. So your story has to change through these three processes. Here, it's all about them. Again, their dreams, their desires, their frustrations, the roadblocks they're experiencing. It's got to be about them, because then they're going to say, yeah, I'm not the only one having this issue. So let's investigate further and start to define it. And when they go through the definition, your story can change a little bit. Talk a little bit more about what could be, the possibilities that are available to them. Again, you're not selling your solution. You're just educating them with all the different possibilities or solutions that they could possibly entertain. And then finally, when it comes into the decision, this is the stage where the story is going to be about you. Why should they trust you? What makes you trustworthy? Have you been around for a long time? Do you have a great team that is very highly qualified? Have you won awards? Do you have a track record? Have you sold X number of units? Do you have a customer list that you could actually share with these people? Are there reviews? Are there testimonials? This is the type of content that they're going to want to see in the decision-making process. For those of you, now the story gets even more complicated. For those of you that are selling B2B, you're a business selling to other businesses. What has happened over the last 10, 15 years is this. When a business is making a purchasing decision, there are several people involved in that decision. It's no longer just one person in general, especially if you're dealing with a medium-sized company or a larger company. There are several people in that organization that are involved and have influence in the decision-making process. So here's the thing. What happens? You got to craft your story and change it for the different people that could possibly have influence in the decision-making process. Let's say I'm a company. I've got 150 employees, and we're changing our ERP. We're changing our mainframe platform so we can store all our information, our customer information, our logistics, all our content, everything that we produce, we can put it on one platform. So I'm going to ask my accounting department, what do they think? Go out on the internet and research and come back with your 3 best choices. I'll go to sales and marketing. You do the same thing. Research, come back with your 3 best choices. Same thing with logistics, operations. And we come together, have a meeting, and we compare our 3 choices. Now, if you're not creating content that's going to resonate with all those different departments, all those different people looking at the problem with their own lens, with their own pair of glasses, you may not be in the top on their top 3 list. And that's why you have to create content and tweak it for different people in different positions. So the story is going to change. That takes a lot of effort. And a lot of you could be sitting here saying, oh my gosh, I'm a small business. I don't have the resources to create all this content. So one of the things that I wanted to cover here was, how do we repurpose content? And so I'm going to share some ideas that I have seen. All right. Creating fresh new content can demand a lot of your resources, being time, it could be money that you don't necessarily have. So what do you do? So here's some ideas to get the most mileage from the content that you do create. And here's an idea. Let's say you write an article or a blog post. You write a story and you put it on your website blog. Great, wonderful. What can you do with that story? Well, let's look at some possibilities here. We could add that same story to our LinkedIn profile or our LinkedIn business page as an article with reference back to the original blog here. That's one thing that we can do. We can repurpose that article on a Blogger account, and with, again, referencing to the original blog post. We can add the story to a newsletter that we may have, or send it out on our email list announcing that we have a new blog. Add the link in the add a link to this article in your email signature file. You can take this blog and you could create a short video of the story. So let's say you do that. What can you do with that? Well, you can upload that video, that full video, up to YouTube. You can embed that video onto your website. You can add the video to all your social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest. And you can embed it onto your other, like your Blogger site, your other, what we call tier 2, level 2 social media properties. Now, from that, all this, we can create several short updates with images. We can take the video, we can cut it down into 1-minute shorts, because shorts are really popular right now. But we could create all these updates and put them and post them on our Facebook feed, Instagram, as a story, LinkedIn, our LinkedIn feed. We can create tweets, we can create Twitter threads. So we can do all of this just from the original website blog up here. We can create several images with text overlay and put them out onto our social media. All right, so that's a written blog. Let's take a look. Let's say we go with video. And here's the thing, video is king. Everybody is getting into video. Your audience will most likely prefer consuming video because they don't have to work that hard. Reading can be hard. Watching a video, no, we're pretty good at that. So let's say you create a nice 5 to 7 minute video, and you're educating your avatar, your persona, on a certain issue, certain roadblock that they're having, and what the possibilities are that they can adopt to overcome that. All right. So you got a 5 to 7 minute video. What can you do with that? And 5 to 7 minutes, it's about 1,000 words, roughly. Could be a little shorter, could be a little bit longer, but what can we do with that? We can transcribe our video and tweak it a little bit and put it as a blog post on our website. We can create 5, 10, 15 social media updates and put it on our Facebook with a link pointing back to our blog or to the video or to the blog. You got a choice there, or both. Create 5 to 15 updates and put it on your LinkedIn profile with a link, again, pointing back to either the blog or the video that you originally created. You can create 5 to 15 updates. You can do the same thing with Twitter. After a couple of weeks, when your blog has been put on your website, you can repurpose your blog as on your LinkedIn profile as an article, again, making reference to the original source. You can create 5 to 7 updates promoting that new article on your LinkedIn. And you can create 5 to 7 updates or 15, whatever you want, and promote these to all the LinkedIn groups that you may have joined. There are thousands of LinkedIn groups, and you need to go and investigate that platform and see if you can find groups that would be interested or have the problems where your avatars hang out. So that's one thread. Oh yeah, and you can repeat this and send updates for LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter after 3 months. So when you do all of this content and put it out there, after a couple of months, take a look at the analytics. Which ones got the most engagement? Identify those and send them out again after 3 months. Because the people that saw it the first time around, there's still a lot of people that may have not seen that post. So you could repost it again and recycle things. Recycle the good ones, though. What else could we do with this 5 to 7 minute video? We can upload the video to our Facebook page, to our YouTube channel. We can cut the video into video shorts, 1-minute shorts or little nuggets for Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all with links pointing back to the main video wherever we want to put it, whether it be Facebook or YouTube. We could strip the audio and apply it as an audiogram graphic. There's a company, or there's a site called Wave, and you can create audiograms with just the audio and some moving images, whatever, that you can post as content on your LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. You can link your video to your page on your website. You can embed it. You can separate the MP3 audio file. And what can you do from that? Upload your MP3 as a podcast episode, possibly. You can then even go and issue press releases announcing the new blog or the new video. There are so many things that you can do. Embed your press release onto your webpage. You can take screenshots of your press release and put them on high-profile media sites and repurpose this to like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all your social media properties. So you're not going to do all of this, but from one article or one video, 5 to 7 minutes, 1,000 words, look at all the possibilities. And I probably haven't covered everything. There's probably some extra ones there. We have some, oh, the chat's disabled. I was checking the question and answer here. Okay, all right. So let's move on. We've created content. We are now putting it out into the social media platform. We're taking our message and we're putting it out there. How do we build a following? And there's two main things that you really need to do in order to build a following. You need to be consistent and you need to provide value. So the content that you create, you got to make sure that it's going to be providing value for your audience. And you need to be consistent. Here's some of the issues I find with a lot of companies that embark on a social media campaign. We're going to post on Facebook every day, and we're going to tweet 3 times a day, and we're going to put articles, or we're going to put updates on our LinkedIn profile 3 times a week. And they start off with all the best intentions, and then life happens. Business happens and they get busy doing other stuff. So you start off with a frequency of once a day on Facebook or once a day on LinkedIn, and it starts to drop off. And it goes to maybe twice a week, and then maybe once a week. And the worst thing that could possibly happen is somebody visiting your social media property, and it's been 2 or 3 months from the last time you posted any updates. Because now they're thinking, are you still in business? Do you really care about us? What's the issue? Have you run out of money? What's going on? And so you have to be consistent. It's a marathon. And so it's not a sprint. It's not going to happen right away. And a lot of people start off and they say, oh, we tried that for a couple of months and it didn't work. That's not long enough. That's not long enough. So you have to be consistent. One of the things that I would suggest is that err on the side of caution. If you'd like to post once a day on LinkedIn, okay, but let's start off slower. Let's start maybe twice a week, 3 times a week. And if you can handle that and that becomes easy and second nature and not a big issue, then increase the frequency, but don't go backwards. Okay. Here's another thing that you can use to increase your following. Now, here is the nasty story about social media. And this is for almost all the platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook. All of them are reducing your organic reach. Now, if you have a budget to buy ads, that's a totally different webinar discussion that we could have at another time. I'm talking about organic. How do we increase our organic reach and increase our following organically? And there's a thing that we call employee advocacy, okay? And what is that? That's basically involving your stakeholders, your team members, to participate in the discussion around your social media posting and updates and content that you put out there. Here's some stats. 58%, right? Social enterprises are 58% more likely to attract top talent and 20% more likely to retain them. That's interesting. Marketing, okay? Content shared by employees has a 2 times higher engagement versus when shared just by the company alone. Here's the other stat here, 45%. Salespeople who regularly share content are 45% more likely to exceed quota. So encourage your team, your employees to participate. I tested this out at Concordia in my social media class. Every second, third semester, I will get 2 people from the same company taking my social media course. And when we start talking about Facebook and LinkedIn and all the social media platforms, they start complaining. They say, we used to get a lot of reach and now we don't get anything. And so what I do is we discuss about creating an experiment. So I tell them, I say, when you go back to work tomorrow after this class, here's what I want you to do. I want you to create some content. And then I want you to take 3, 4, 5 people within your organization and alert them and say, hey, I'm going to be posting this content on Thursday afternoon at 2:00 in the afternoon. I would really appreciate if you go on that platform at about after 2:00 and comment. Don't like it, because likes don't mean anything anymore, but comment, and not just a couple of words saying, well, that's nice, or I agree, but write 2 or 3 sentences, and you can have a discussion and kind of orchestrate the discussion that you want to have online. So you put your post up Thursday, 2:00 in the afternoon. One of your employees may come in, or a stakeholder who's not an employee may come in and say, hey, this is an interesting idea. What do you think about when this happens? And then you can reply, and you can develop a conversation or several conversations. So I did this 3 or 4 times in my social media class. And here's what happens. For LinkedIn, for example, where their organic reach from any kind of posting or content update would be maybe 100, 200 people, would explode to 2, 3, 4,000 people. Organic reach only. Why? Because there is a conversation going on about that content. The algorithms in Facebook and LinkedIn and many of the other social media platforms are looking for engagement and participation. So once they see that, they start showing it to a much more broader audience. And the more conversation goes on through comments, the more reach you're going to get from that one post. And you do it with your own team. That's one of the great things about it. It works. It works very, very well. I had another student. How am I doing for time? Quick story. I had another student who worked for a book publishing company here in Quebec, and they published a history book in French. They launched a new history book, and history books are pretty dry, and the industry is pretty dry. But what they did is they launched that textbook a week before. We have a certain time of the year where we have Teachers Week. Teachers Week, you give food to your kids, and they take it to the teacher, and the teacher gets all this food and apples and candy and chocolates and flowers and all that. It's Teacher Appreciation Week. So they launched this book a week before Teacher Appreciation Week. And they asked the question, why did you become a teacher? Put your answer in the comments below. Well, get this. Teachers are very passionate about teaching. I know, I teach. I'm passionate about my craft. And so they would be writing essays in the comment section. This is why I teach. This is why I want to make a difference. And they had several dozen people writing essays about why they wanted to become a teacher and why they're happy that they are a teacher. They had a reach from that one post of over 70,000 people just in the province of Quebec, just in a small area. So that's what the power of comments can do. And employee advocacy is a great way to do it. And you're using your own people. It doesn't cost, well, it costs just a little bit of time. All right. Before I make my closing remarks, are there any questions from anybody? I know I'm taking a very high level. The challenge with social media is this. Everybody's industry is different. Everybody's product or service or what they're creating is unique. Their ideal customers can be unique as well. So it's hard for me to really drill down and give concrete solutions for every situation. I'm just sort of posing some questions and sharing some ideas for you to take home this weekend and think about it. So do we have any questions? Anybody have any questions or comments?
Yeah, it's finally time, guys. It's time for you to ask your questions. I mean, MJ has been giving us so much insight on social media. This is so detailed, right? And please do also like ask your question. You can use the chat box to like ask your question, or just use the Q&A format to ask your question, or just you mute yourself and speak if you can.
Sure.
Can someone use the Q&A? You can use the Q&A to ask your questions.
Oh, something came up. Hang on.
I think if I wants to ask a question.
When is when is your follow-up webinar given by MJ? Thank you, whoever anonymous attendee. Listen, some of the people at Inyata, mainly Jeff, knows me very well, and I can talk for hours. Just talk to one of my students. I can go and tell stories forever. Listen, I am open. If you want to talk about a specific platform or a specific industry, or you want to drill down into something really specific, I'd be more than happy to come back. Okay. I spent all of November in Kenya last year. First time to Africa, and I love Africa. I told the people, my friends in Kenya, because I made a lot of great friends, I said, I'm coming back. I said, I don't know when, I don't know how. I'm back virtually through Inyata. That's why I was so grateful to actually come here and do that. I'll come back as often as you want. If you have the patience and the tenacity and the stomach to listen to this old boomer talk about social media, I'm all yours. Okay. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to summarize. If you have questions, by all means, put them in the chat or in the Q&A. But here's my conclusions about what I said. You really need to understand your audience. That's the first step. And you really need to continually understand them and update your persona document. Don't tuck it away in a filing cabinet or somewhere deep down in your hard drive. It's got to be reviewed at least on a quarterly basis. And when you're starting off, even more so than that, it should be actually printed out and sitting right there so that you can look at it every day. Based on your persona, you can select what we can assume is possibly the best social media platforms, but you need to test. Sometimes where we think our audience is, they're not there, or they're not that active, or they don't care on that platform. It might be some other ones that we never even thought of that they're more engaged. Learn to tell great stories. And listen, you know, Montreal, where I live right now, is a very multicultural city. And one thing I've learned by meeting, and this is why I didn't want to go to Houston, Texas when I had the opportunity. I wanted to stay here. Why? Because I wanted my kids. I have 3 daughters. I wanted them to have friends of different cultures, different faiths, different colors of skin. And they do. It's kind of a really neat situation. So my daughters have friends of all different nationalities and beliefs and whatever, and that's fine. Here's the great thing that I've learned is that these cultures tell wonderful stories. All right. My oldest daughter is dating an Indian. His last name is Patel. His grandparents are from India, and they are wonderful storytellers. And when I went to Kenya, I spent more time listening to stories. People, again, you guys tell wonderful stories. It's rich. Your culture is rich in stories. Learn how to tell your stories. Just make sure that your audience, your main character is your audience, and you'll do fine. Be consistent on social media with building and nurturing your following. That's probably the biggest challenge. Be consistent. And that's it. Is there any other questions? Hang on, there is. When we consider making a template or a grid of criteria as a group exercise, this is instead of talking, listening. Okay. Can we consider making a template or grid of criteria as a group exercise? Yeah, you could. Listen, there's a number of things. You can go and sit together with your team and have that discussion and develop the information on a grid or criteria. what I would suggest though is test it out, because you may not be on the right track, or you may be missing some vital information. So great, yeah, make your assumptions, put it there. And I like the idea of getting everybody involved so that they buy in. That's important. But somebody at one point or time on your team may come back and say, hey, I just learned something new. We thought this, and I just spoke to one of our ideal customers or potential customers, and they don't think that at all. And this is what I found. So now you can go back and start modifying and keeping things up to date, because you can go off on a wild goose chase and you may not be necessarily on the right track. Great question, whoever that's from. Thank you. Is there anything else? I think that's basically it.
Yeah, there's one more question.
Yeah.
He's just saying thank you. Triumphant Paul.
Yeah, I know it's late Friday afternoon where most people here on the audience are, and I really do appreciate your time. Again, I'm very flattered that people took their Friday afternoons to listen to an old gray-haired boomer talk about social media. I hope to see you again. One thing that I'll ask for all of you, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. All right, MJ Plebon, Plebon. Please do that, and be more than happy to connect with you. Where do you use social media in years? Where does social media?
Oh, I think, where do you see social media in years to come? So
That's a great question. Listen, we all have heard of artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. Things are escalating in a crazy, crazy way. ChatGPT is a wonderful tool for content creators. Like, I use it, and I use it for my clients. What it does do, it's not going to replace me. What it does do, though, it makes me do things a lot quicker, faster, and more efficient. If you're going to go write an article, go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT for an outline on this topic and see what it gives you. Starting from a blank piece of paper like this is hard. You get writer's block. Go to ChatGPT. It's going to get the wheels turning. And don't use exactly what it feeds you. You're going to need to change it to your own voice and your own particular situation. But man, does it help an awful lot. Really does. Great work. So artificial intelligence is going to play a big, big role. Even when you're repurposing content, there are tools out there now, and there's literally hundreds and hundreds of tools coming out on a monthly basis to take video and cut it down into short little 1-minute short videos. There's tools out there where you can just write your blog and you can have a video created from it, and a talking person going through and speaking everything, and you can have it's crazy what you can do. So lots of opportunity, and keep your eyes open with regards to what's happening there. Great question. Thank you so much for that. Anything else?
There are new questions popping up. How can you've seen the question for negative comments?
Okay, please. How best can I handle? Oh, I was teaching social media at Concordia last night, virtually, like we are today, and we covered that topic. Here's the thing with regards to reviews and testimonials. Whether they're good or bad, you must respond to all of them. Now, good reviews are easy to respond to. Thanks for taking the time to respond and leave this wonderful review. We enjoyed serving you. We enjoyed working with you, and we hope you come back again, or we hope you remain a lifelong client. Okay, that's easy. Let's say you get nailed and it's a bad review. Here's the first thing. You must always respond. First thing you do is you thank them for taking the time to give you their feedback. Okay? Thank them for taking the time for you to give them your feedback. The next thing you're going to do is, if you were wrong, if you made a mistake, admit it. Say, listen, you're right. We made a mistake. We apologize, and here's what we're going to do to correct it. Listen, we're all human. Even your potential clients, if they see that discussion, they know every company makes mistakes. Oh my gosh. And it's human nature. That's how human beings learn, is we make mistakes. But this is what you do. If you made a mistake, acknowledge it. Now, sometimes the review is, or the testimonial is sometimes somewhat unsubstantiated, okay? People can go off and they're having a bad day, so they go on and they blast you. They give you 1 star. Acknowledge, thank them for the time, for leaving the feedback. And what you do is say, listen, we understand that your experience wasn't what you expected. Now, you're not agreeing with them. Don't agree with them. The old saying that the customer is always right is not true. The customer is not always right. There's no way they could always be right, but the customer is always the customer. So this is what you do. Thanks for taking the time to leave your feedback. We understand your experience wasn't what you expected and that you are disappointed. I am the department manager. I am the owner of the company. I am the executive VP. Here's my email address. Please contact me or phone me, and so that I can discuss this with you one-on-one, so we can learn. I can learn more about what exactly happened and what I can do to make it better. That's what you do. You take that conversation offline. So here, somebody else now comes and sees that review, and they see the customer who is really upset and angry, and if they could give you 0 stars, they would, but they had to give you 1, and they're upset about giving you that much, okay? And they say, I'll never come back here again, whatever. And you come back in your response saying, listen, thank you for your time. We understand you're upset and your experience wasn't what you expected. This is my position. And usually you use people with authority, the owner, higher level management, and say, please contact me. Now I've done the response to reviews for restaurants and bars in Montreal. I had one very famous bar in Montreal. They're also a restaurant. 4.2 stars on average out of 5. So most of the reviews were good, but every now and then you'd get one that says, oh, my server, my waitress, my waiter was the most rudest person I've ever seen in my life. And the food was cold and it tasted like terrible. It was brutal. Don't ever go here. I'll never come back again. I had to write the response, and I just followed the same formula. I had the email address of the general manager of the restaurant. And I would always say, please contact the general manager at this email address, or please contact me. I pretend I was her and say, I'd be more than happy to discuss this further. I looked after their good reviews and negative reviews for 3 years. And hang on, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. She never got an email or a phone call. All right. But the optics of people looking at those negative reviews and seeing their response actually helped boost their popularity, because A, the organization cared to respond. The organization said, listen, we understand you're upset. Let's deal with it. Let's face it. And doing that is 10 times out of 10, much better than not doing anything at all. And unfortunately, with Google and Facebook, whatever, if you do get a nasty review, and let's say it's your competition, depending on the industry you're in, your competition can go and leave nasty reviews on a fake social media persona. You can't get it taken down. You can't. They will not take it down unless it is threatening. And if they use vulgar language or whatever, then you may have some grounds, but they're not going to take it down. So you have to deal with it the best you can. That's a long-winded answer. I hope that answers your question. But negative reviews can be intimidating. And listen, when you get a negative review about your company, don't answer it right away, because I can tell you, you're going to be upset. You're going to be angry. Go for a walk. Come back, calm down, breathe, and then deal with it. Sounds good? Anything else for me? I think that's,
Yeah, I think we are good, and you've
oh,
answered pretty much of the question. And our time is fast spent, guys. We really
yes,
need to let MJ go at this point. He has been here long before. He has over an hour plus now. So thank you so much, MJ, for coming on board. Thank you so much for giving so much valid tip and insight. Everybody has learned a lot from this discussion.
I hope
Literally, I
so.
could be saying, hope you're listening, Tiny, because MJ is giving all the tea for free. Yeah, so thank you for answering our questions. Thank you for joining us this evening. And also, guys, all of you in the audience, thank you for contributing, for asking your questions. The recording will be out. You do well to share the recording with each and every one of you. Also, MJ will need your slides so that we could
Yes.
share back with the community. Yeah,
Okay.
so everyone have a lovely weekend and thank you all for joining. Bye,
Have a,
guys.
have a great
Bye,
weekend.
MJ.
Stay
Yeah,
safe. Bye-bye.
bye.